Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash, and double honor to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to those for elect, hearing this word of truth and in sincerity. Alright, I'm the brother Iwalum from the GMS West Palm Beach Camp, back with another lesson. Just meditating on a few things, and watching LD Asharoma's video dealing with Esau Edom, and the whole Christian nationalist thing, and pretty much, at the end of the day, as this devil, is being called out on who he is, right? Jeremiah 49:10, I have made Esau bare and I have uncovered his secret places. They're trying to hide under, quote-unquote Christianity, and pretty much hide behind the Bible, but we understand that, the truth behind Christianity, and we understand that Christianity has nothing to do with the scriptures, man. When you read the scriptures, it doesn't line up. Well, Salak, let me put it like this: when you listen to these Christians, right, what they're saying doesn't line up with the scriptures, man. But all in all, they're trying to present themselves as angels in front of the world, but really, they're the devil, man. This is 2 Corinthians 11 and verse 14, and no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. So Satan, which is the adversary, Shaitan, has transformed himself into an angel of light. We understand that Satan on the earth is Esau Edom, the so-called white race. And pretty much, they're trying to make themselves the victim, of everything going bad here, in the world right now. Well, really, they're the culprits. The reason why the earth is upside down right now is because of their rulership. But they're pointing the finger at Jake. They're trying to present themselves as God-fearing, God-loving people. But really, you're the devil, man. You're the wicked. And they're trying to present us as, the scum of the earth, and we're the chosen people, man. The so-called blacks, Latinos, Native Americans. You see? But this is the trick of the devil. Alright? This is the wiles of the devil, and this is why the scripture says that we be not taken by the wiles of the devil, man. Alright? Let's go to Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus, chapter 12. Ecclesiasticus, chapter 12, and verse verse 10. Salak. It says, never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Right, never trust the enemy, man, because, the enemy may come up humbly, acting as though he's a friend, but behind your back, he's conjuring up mischief. This is what Esau Edom is doing. He's showing the world that, he's trying to present himself to the world as, an angel, white people, as the term that they put on themselves. He's trying to present himself to the world as that. But behind the scene, he's conjuring up a plan to enslave, quote unquote humanity, man. Trying to put that CHIP inside of people. You see? Never trust that enemy, because his true target is the children of Israel. But his plan is to pretty much be God over the whole world, man. You see? And that's why the scripture says to never trust an enemy. Watch this devil. And when you watch Esau Edom, you're gonna see like he's been doing the same shit over and over again throughout history. Same shit, different time. Esau Edom, he just he recycles, ideas. Nothing new under the sun, as it's written. No new thing under the sun. Okay? It says, verse 11, though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him, and thou shalt be like unto Salakia. It says to beware of him. You know, it's like when you're walking somewhere and you see a sign that says beware of the dog. All right, meaning that you gotta watch out for this dog, man. You know, it's the same way as, you know, you gotta beware of Esau Edom. All right, because this devil, it's full of tricks. You know, aside from the sword being his blessing, another thing that, you know, he utilized to his advantage, all right, is lies, is craftiness. You know, it says, let me read 11 again. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him. And thou shalt be unto him as if thou hadst wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust have not been altogether wiped away. Right? Because, once again, another way that Esau presents himself is in those tight suits, or sometimes baggy suits, fitted suits, and they'll pretty much have their face shaved, all right, and pretty much present themselves as this clean and upright people, but really, you know, it's all a deception. Because if you know the scripture calls them the basest of men, right? That's Daniel 4:17. That the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, all right, and giving it to the basest of men, man. Okay. So Esau Edom, all right, is the true caveman. The brother from Hawaii, the elder brother from Hawaii, Yahweh. You know, he did a lesson, and that shit had it's like that shit. But you know, the lesson had me cracking up, man, of how you know, you had these devils in their natural habitat, man. All right, the first video he played was pretty much an Edomite walking on all fours. All right, and you had a couple other videos, including two Edomite women sniffing each other's armpits, man. You see, this is the true nature of the so-called white race, the Edomites. You see. And this is what they've been trying to run away from. They've been trying to want to run away from, all right, you know, that stigmas, for the lack of better words. You know, but you really can't run away from the spirit, man, because eventually the spirit, you know, was going to sniff you out, Esau, or going to find you. You know, so you could pretty much put suits on yourself, or, you know, do your hair any kind of way. And hey, the scripture says, can a leopard change his spots, or the Ethiopian his skin? So are you that accustomed to do wickedness, man, evil? You see, so a leopard can't change his spots. You know, they got what they got. So Esau Edom, he can't change who he is. All right, if the Lord created them to be the wicked, they're gonna be the wicked. You know, and that's something very important to know, because, you know, even if Esau present themselves as, you know, I believe in the Bible and I'm a Christian, you know, yada yada, so on and so forth, they're gonna tell you all this. But when you know the scriptures that says, can the Ethiopian change his skin, or the leopard his spots? You know, no. So Esau Edom cannot change who he is. Now, you know, as we always make the point, you know, not every so-called white person is an Edomite. You know, as not every so-called, you know, Chinese, not every so-called heathen looking person is a heathen, you know, because Israelites were scattered among the heathen, you know, so we got to substantiate, you know, that fact. But nonetheless, for the most part, the so-called white race are the Edomites, man. All right, you can't hide behind the identity of being white no more, because the Spirit of the Lord has truly revealed you. You see? Just let me part this thing. Okay. it says, verse 12, set him not by thee, lest when he hath overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place. Neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat, and thou at the last remember my words, and be pricked therewith. You see, and a lot of our people, they're guilty of trusting Esau and trusting the words that he say, because, you know, Jake has been enchanted. You know, they're under delusion to see Esau as, you know, the pinnacle of righteousness, you know. And that goes back to that time of slavery. You know, Stockholm Syndrome, where our people, they would not leave the slave masters. They'd fall in love with those that pretty much torture and beat them, you know. So now that that's trickled down to our generation now, and the generation before us and before that, that they see Esau as, you know, God, man. They see Esau as the pinnacle of, you know, being yeah, I'm trying to find the correct word, the correct term for it, but, you know, of being up there. You see, right? Really, once again, he's the basest of men. You know, and understanding that fact will help you understand a lot of things. All right, you know, in this world, you know, among many other things, man. But Esau, Edom, for a fact, understanding that he's the wicked and he's Esau, you know, that'll keep you from, you know, getting tripped up by the wiles of this man. Okay, but, you know, that's pretty much the point. I just want to go into that, man, because it's a lot of deception going out, you know, and him, you know, calling himself a Christian, and, you know, because the true Christians, you know, are Israelites. Because you go back, it says, and they were called Christians first in Antioch, you know, which Christians really just means Mashiachim, which is followers of the anointed, you know, and it was coined to them as a mocking term. Okay, so that's pretty much it, man. I just want to go through that through the spirit. All right, beware of, you know, the beast, man. Beware of the devil. Okay, so Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. I like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash. And I want to give double honor to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to those for elect, hearing this word in truth and in sincerity. Until next time, I say shalom.